Thank you very much for the opportunities. Today I would like to have my presentations on the Risale-i and its relevance to the contemporary issues. I modified a little bit on the title, 3+1. As with the previous presenters, that I must honest as well that I'm not coming from a religious educational background. So my undergraduate and postgraduate studies was on politics and public policy in European unions. So apologize if you know I'm not really explain deeper in this subject of Risale-i. Next please, yes. As we all know that Nursi has revealed the enemies of the what he has said, that the three big enemies within the Muslim world, that is the ignorance, poverty, and disputes of conflicts. But nowadays, I found that I would like to add one other enemies, that is the discrimination against Muslim women. So why is it important to be addressed? I will explain in the next session, in the next slides. Okay, about the industry and the three elements that Nursi has proposed, that according to these three big enemies is industry, education, and unity. But what's happened right now in our Muslim world, let me share you the facts that now let's see socio-economic condition within the Muslim world. There are 45 Muslim majority countries. When I said Muslim majority countries, which means that a country that have national population more than 1 million and of 50% are Muslims. There are namely 10 countries are in Asia, and then 13 countries are in the Middle East, and then 17 countries in Africa, and 5 countries in Europe or Eurasia. And population from these 45 countries account for approximately 1/5 of world populations, or 18.73%. However, total population of Muslim around the world is in fact more than that. In 2015, for example, like estimated that the total number of Muslim is 1.7 billion, and almost a quarter of world population, which means 22.6%. And it should be expected that the economic contributions, as well as the economic shares, are at least 50% or more, or if possible, of the world's GDP. And isn't it in a hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that used to keep saying upper hands are much better than the hands in below? And interestingly, what are the fact nowadays that according to the data from the World Bank, it appears that the economic contribution and sharing of these Muslim majority countries are solely about 7.8% of the world's economy. So which is less than half of the percentage of its populations compared with the rest of the world. So this means that are the big gaps of common prosperity and lower economic shares and contribution in the Muslim world. Thus, there are indeed great numbers of Muslims who are economically dependent or still waiting others for helping hands. Additionally, speaking about GDP per capita, for example, data from World Bank describes that among these 5 countries, there are 5 Muslim majority countries, all in Middle East, which are categorized as high income, yet they are all situated in the Middle East, and all are major petrol-producing countries. And between these 5, Qatar holds the record for the highest GDP per capita. And talking about the HDI, or Human Development Index, among Muslim majority countries, this has a close relation with GDP, of course, although not always, but in general, the better economic situations, the highest level of HDI will be achieved. When a dispute or war or civil war happened, for example, HDI could drop deeper than its economic situations. Condition of war in Syria, for example, or Yemen, or Afghanistan, gives us a warning in order to avoid civil war and internal conflicts. Because not merely millions of lives will lost and others have no shelter, but also human research cannot be optimally developed, and prosperity are surely far away to reach. This is why we can see that there is a slight difference in the categorizations of GDP per capita and HDI among those countries. For example, like some countries have GDP per capita in lower middle income level, but due to civil war or acute internal conflict, the value of HDI dropped and categorized as low level of HDI. And based on UNDP report, for example, in 2016, 14 countries in Muslim majority countries, which have low level of HDI, 11 countries in Africa, 2 countries in the Middle East, 1 country in Asia, and 11 countries, for example, like in the category of medium HDI, 3 African countries, 2 countries in the Middle East, and 6 countries in Asia. Next, please. So I would like to describe this issue a little bit deeper, perhaps, because I suppose not only being a Muslim woman, because I felt myself that I'm pursuing my doctoral degree in one of the European countries, and I consider myself as triple minority. Like I'm Asian, I'm Muslim woman, and not only that, I'm wearing hijab. So these triple minorities makes me aware that this issue important needs to be addressed. So, to be frankly speaking, Muslim women are suffering from 2 different areas of discriminations. That is within the Muslim world and outside the Muslim world. So within the Muslim world, there are about 43% women who are uneducated at all or illiterate, for example. And as well as enrollment of women to higher education is lower than men, a gap of access of economic opportunities. Employed women face challenges, for example, like limited or no access of political opportunities or social life. Let's say in European countries, for example, Muslim women face discrimination and anti-Muslim sentiment outside the Muslim world in the European countries. 75% of victims of anti-Muslim sentiments or Islamophobia are women. Not only in France, in UK, in Germany, and so on. And also, there's a term in research center that they reveal that Muslim women are hardly to get a proper job. They call it as debt on the labor market, for example. And also a gap of access of employment due to religious symbol. This is supported by some of the research that found that in the labor market, discrimination exists against Jews, yet it is more critical against Muslims, particularly Muslim women. And compared with other, for example, Jews, Christians, or Sikh who also wear visible religious symbols, Muslims consider themselves to be more targeted and harassed than other communities. And furthermore, compared with Muslim men, Muslim women can be easily recognized by their religious appearance and or symbols as hijab, turban, or abaya, and so on. It is because of these attributes they are in fact often undervalued or harassed. For example, like UNDP report in 2016 within the Muslim world on Arab human development. Access to education in most Arab countries for both women and men has been improving. Literacy rates among adults and young are rising and gender gaps are narrowing, but still the enrollment of women to higher education is lower than men. This is because of high prevalence of early marriage among women, or young women's burdensome caregiving roles when families are disrupted. Moreover, there is also a gap of access of economic opportunities between men and women. And also, like I said before, employed women face challenges such as often paid less, double burden of workload, face prejudice and harassment at work, and it is worsened, unfortunately, as there are no specific legislation prohibiting sexual harassment in the workplace in Arab countries. This is the data based on UNDP, which is very sad. I have been doing my research, and I read as well from the proceeding of previous conference on Syed Nursi. And I couldn't find any papers or presentation relating to discrimination against Muslim women based on the perspective of Risale-i. So I decided to challenge it to write a paper about this. So this is why I put my title, Contemporary Issues on the Perspective of Risale-i 3+1. Next, please. And as we all know that Risale-i perspective that Ustad Syed Nursi proposed to eradicate those three enemies with education, industry, and unity. And also we have heard as well on jihad ma'nawi, spiritual jihad, and also morality and positive action, like the theme of the conference. And perhaps we should dig deeper about what is another possible solutions from the Risale-i to address this issue. And as mentioned in the Quran as well, Quran Al-Hujarat 49:13 and An-Nahl 16:97. This explain about the equal rights, equal opportunities between men and women that Allah has taught us through the Quran. So, but in fact, in reality, there's a big gap which I have explained before. So, I have also read that, like Ustad Syed Nursi encouraged for having equal opportunities in educations or access in economic opportunities, and also to be economically independent. So I also read about the guides of Muslim women on the small book of Ustad Syed Nursi, and perhaps in the next future or in the future we could extend or doing some research about this on what is more about the Risale-i perspective on these issues. And next, please. Yeah, I put for another possible recommendations about how to address this issue. that is equal access not only to education, economical opportunities, but also social and political life. For example, how many Muslim women in Muslim majority countries or other countries who are become a minister, for example, like in Turkey. I don't know whether how many women who are becoming a minister, or have you had before a Muslim, a women president, for example? Me, like Indonesia, we had once women president, but you know some groups of extremists had demonstration, and it is they said that it is forbidden for Muslim to have a women leader. So it kind of like controversial issues at that time, but in fact that this women president still running at the office in 2014, if I'm not 2004, if I'm not mistaken. And nowadays, under the administration of President Jokowi, we have 6 or 7 women minister. And the role of women is not only taking care of the children, I suppose, or house, but it's both responsibilities between the mother and the father, between husband and wife. And also, last recommendation, I would humbly suggest that Muslims need to effectively learn from Jewish communities how they successfully manage and reduce the feelings of anti-Semitism back in the past 4 decades. Because from low to large, from local to national, from lobbying to politics, as well as the development of strategies that influence the minds of the broad public, we need to use this sort of strategy from our Jewish brother to counterattack the Islamophobia which are happening right now. If the majority of Muslims kept silent, refused to fight Islamophobia, for example, or the rhetoric of the anti-Islamic, and did not disclose those who abuse Islam for their political interests and power, the anti-Islam will exist permanently. And the roots of anti-Islam, in fact, I believe, come from the same source as anti-Semitism. So, and therefore, to stop anti-Islamic prejudice, the new model of anti-Semitism is a matter of principle, of fundamentals. So that's all my presentation. Thank you.